All right, guys, Jameson and Alex here. Today we're talking about the Cosmic Patron Warlock. This is from the Dungeon Dude's new PDF campaign setting, Sebastian Crowe's Guide to Drakkenheim.
They get all of the words in there, all of the title.
Yes. Also, thanks to our sponsors. Make sure you check them out. We'll have a link down below for that. But yeah, we're going to rate the Roleplay Combat Synergy. You know the deal on here. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to be entered in our D&D Beyond Sourcebook Bundle giveaway. Let's just get right to it.
Choice.
Yes. What do we get? Go ahead, Alex. Start us off.
We're going to start off with one of the always sore points of Warlock in general, which is not free spells, but the expanded spell list to choose from. Again, it's a Warlock problem, not a subclass design problem from Dungeon Dude. It's a base Warlock design problem. But anyway, that's not a road we're going to go down. We're going to say it. We know it's a thing. Moving on. The list is interesting, though, because we get Magic Missile, Fairy Fire, Moonbeam, Scorching Ray, Blink, Spirit Guardians, Fire Shield, Wall of Fire, Flame Strike, and Greater Restoration. Very much a mix of, like, Druid and Cleric stuff, kind of.
Yeah, it's kind of like,
fire. But there's, like,
and...
Magic Missile and Blink in there, too, which belong in either one of them by default. So there's a weird mix in there.
It's kind of like an arcane, fiery kind of theme, I think, is really what they're going for.
Yeah. So interesting list to pick from.
Yeah, interesting mix. And we're doing this review live, so we're gonna kind of go through it and give our thoughts as we go. So I think with this, based on the roleplay value, I don't think there's a lot with the roleplay with this spell list. I mean,
Greater Restoration is pretty much it.
Yeah, pretty much Greater Restoration. Yeah, there's not really much. I mean, maybe Fairy Fire in a very, very weird niche circumstance.
Yeah, as a war, you could blink to get to places,
Well, yeah, with the way the blink works, it's like you kind of phase in and out of the ethereal for that one. Yeah, so I mean, maybe really like for an escape. For a second. Yeah, maybe, but that's kind of they did do it in Critical Role. That did happen. I do remember that was an interesting episode with Jester. That was a while ago, but yeah. So it can come up, not very often though. Let's see what else we get at level 1. Cosmic Attributes. You take on an otherworldly cosmic appearance or essence. Choose one or more of the attributes listed below. Decide your own or roll randomly. So it looks like this is going to be just purely an RP thing, which
it's to be flavor for where your patron stuff comes from.
Yeah, so I'll just kind of pick one and go through that. We're not going to read through all of these, but. Your eyes become pools of inky black with small galaxies floating within them. To look into them is as if floating through the cosmos lost in the void of space. That immediately makes me think in Guardians of the Galaxy 2 when Peter Quill is like, Ego's like telling him everything and his eyes like kind of get the stars. That's exactly the first thing I thought of. So it's just kind of like that cosmic theme flavor. We usually don't give any points for flavor though, just... We're talking about utility and mechanics on here, but it is nice that they do give you that stuff as a kind of way to give you a direction to go with the character.
Very much so. Also at 1, because we're a Warlock and we get a lot of stuff at 1, we have Shooting Stars, which being at first level, you learn the Eldritch Blast cantrip if you don't already know it. If you don't already know Eldritch Blast and you're playing a Warlock, you're either never played D&D before or you're intentionally trying to be different because it is objectively the best combat-based cantrip that you can get. That normally is exclusive to Warlock, so you're taking it unless you're just going to be different, which is fine.
Get it for free. You get it for free here, so you don't have to innately pick
it. But it doesn't kind of get some Warlock cantrips so you can grab something else, technically here as well. So
yes.
Also, this is where things get fun and interesting with this. Is when you cast Eldritch Blast, you can have it deal radiant damage instead of force damage. Now, in general rule, force is the best damage type because it is the least resisted damage type. But there are situations where some few things do, or more importantly, what's going to be more common is if you're fighting undead things, where radiant damage is actually like a lot of them are vulnerable to it and things like that, then at least you have an option. So, again, not really a bad thing. It's not going to be super, super important, but if you needed it for some reason, it's there. But it's fine. It doesn't cost you anything.
Yeah, I think that is a good point, too, with the Radiant. It's like, you typically probably wouldn't need to do it, but when it comes up, it's going to be nice to have that option to get that potential vulnerability damage that you otherwise wouldn't have.
And you could do it for a flavor thing, too, if you really wanted to, because the Radiant does kind of fit more of like the cosmic thing with, light and stuff like that. So you won't feel like if you're leaning into cold damage, and cold is objectively not as good as force damage in general because of all things that resist cold, you kind of feel bad to do it for the flavor's sake. But Radiant's one of the top 3-4 damage types itself.
I think
so you're not going to feel a drop off for doing Radiant all the time.
Yeah, most of the time it's going to just be the same, and then you have that chance for it to have some extra.
Most of the time.
Yeah. All right, still level 1 because you're Warlock. Why not? Cosmic Guidance. You can speak, read, and write Celestial and Deep Speech. All right, we're getting some RP now. In addition, you learn the Guidance cantrip. It doesn't count against the number of Warlock cantrips you know. Additionally, you may cast the spell Augury once without expending a spell slot. You can't do so again.
That's important, without expending a spell slot.
Yes, it's kind of... This makes me kind of feel like it's basically like a free invocation. Because a lot of the invocations give you like a free spell that you can cast, which is nice. And that's actually some good RP. You get 2 languages, an extra cantrip, and technically, if you think about it, 2 extra cantrip, because you're going to pick Eldritch Blast anyway. That's what you do 90% of the time as Warlock, because you don't have very many spell slots. So you're getting basically 2 free cantrips that don't count towards your cantrips. So you could pick 2 different RP ones, because, like, again, Eldritch Blast is the best cantrip in 5th edition, hands down. So you get the option to get those. And Augury, that's a pretty solid RP spell as well. So some free good RP spell.
In my opinion, you can make the case that Guidance is the best RP cantrip in the game. If not,
I would agree.
You won't get fought much on that. So you're getting, normally you have access to Eldritch Blast anyway, but again, you get to get an extra one. But giving you access to something you don't normally have access to, which is a really good RP cantrip, is also fantastic. We'll bring this up as well. A lot of those not so good Warlock invocations let you cast a spell once using a Warlock spell slot. Those are terrible. This one actually lets you cast it at no cost to yourself once a day, which means it's actually good.
Yeah.
So level 6, we're going to get Orbit, it looks like. Once per turn, when you miss a creature with Eldritch Blast, which, again, keep in mind, Eldritch Blast fires individual beams. It's not just like one firebolt does, X D10 damage as you level up. Eldritch Blast gets an additional beam, or, you ain't going to call it a beam, whatever. It's additional ray
an extra blast.
Each time. Yeah, it's an extra blast of damage for each upgrade in the cantrip tier. So, by the time you get level 6, you're going to have 2 going out. So, if you miss with one of those Eldritch Blast beams, the beam returns to you in an orbiting comet around your head. While you have an orbiting comet, you can absorb its energy to do the following. Once on your turn, you can cast Eldritch Blast. You can consume 1 orbiting comet to fire an additional beam. So, if you miss, you can put it in your pocket, essentially, and fire it again, or at a later turn for an extra pop somewhere else.
Yep.
Yeah. We have Interception. You can use your reaction to intercept a melee or ranged attack, gaining resistance to the damage from that attack. Okay. A use of your reaction. That's fun. And then we have Lightspeed. As a bonus action, you can consume a comet to teleport 30 feet to an occupied space you can see. These are interesting because
around.
You can take your miss and put in your pocket for extra damage on another turn. You can use it as a reaction if you needed to get resistance to damage. Of course, it does say melee or ranged attack. It's not an AoE spell it will not work on, or any kind of AoE effect.
Right, I guess.
But it does just say melee or ranged attack, so a ranged spell attack it should work on.
Yes, I would agree with that, because it doesn't. It's, as long as it's not a save, I would say it would qualify, because it's an attack.
Right.
Yeah.
Or the bonus, a reliable bonus action, essentially a Misty Step, give or take the distance in there. So as a bonus action, so you get a add-on attack, you get a reaction option, or a bonus action option. So there's 3 different uses for this little comet. And as you get more beams, you're going to be more likely to miss, because you're going to be firing off more shots at once. Mm-hmm. So this is going to be a cool thing, because it's the way it's worded. You could keep it through the round. So if you need to use the reaction because you're going to get hit, you can use it. But if you end up not getting hit that round by an attack you're worried about, you can fire it off to start that turn. I'm going to use my first Eldritch Blast beam to do this before I start firing off the regular ones to maybe put one back in my pocket again.
Sure.
Of course, the bottom of this is going to matter here as well. You can have a maximum number of orbiting comets equal to your proficiency bonus, so you could stack up a bunch of these if you really wanted to. As long as you have comets, you glow with bright light out to 20 feet and dim light for an additional 10. The comets last you finish a short or long rest, or until you dismiss them. No action required.
So I do like that. You can have multiple. You can stack them up. You do have the cost you have to pay if you want to get your spell slots back, that you lose your comments, which I mean is fine. But also there's the glow effect, the light coming off of you, which may be good or bad depending on circumstance. So you have some pros and cons.
Like, what's the glowing light around the corner over there?
Right. But I think there's a lot of utility with this, and I actually really like this ability. This is probably one of my favorite Warlock abilities that we've had. I think, it's just very. I was not expecting something like that. That's very interesting to me.
Because everybody's going to take Eldritch Blast if they didn't give it to you for free. They're giving it to you because they want to make sure you take it, because they're going to give you other abilities to proc off of it, which is good.
Yeah, and you get the extra chance to hit, which is great. You get the damage resistance, which is massive. That's awesome.
Yeah, because you only got light armor. You're not going to be a big tanky thing.
You're not a big tanky boy. You're not the squishiest, but you're definitely not the strongest. And then having that mobility too with the bonus action, I would argue it's better than Misty Step, just because it doesn't use a spell slot.
Use a spell slot. You're a warlock. You don't spend the spell slots for that.
You could theoretically do it every turn if you're missing once or twice. I would think you'd almost want to maybe try to purposely attack the thing with the highest AC, just with one of your blasts,
try to get one,
just to score up if you don't have any, which could be interesting, but. You might feel bad that you didn't miss. You might feel bad that you hit, which is kind of funny.
You're definitely playing with fire if you're intentionally trying to pocket comments for later things. It's like the rest of your party's like, dude, what are you doing? He's playing with lights over here in the corner. Like, come on.
I do really like that. It's got some good RP use as well, especially with the light speed is definitely very good.
And it definitely comes across as like a little bit of bad luck protection, because if you are somebody who just has bad luck because we exist, you get some help for, if you're not trying to get them, you're just going to get them eventually anyway, because you're not going to hit everything all the time. If you're unlucky, you have a bunch of them.
You're right. I do see one kind of maybe overlooked thing on this, which is there's nothing about being in combat that's specified for this. So you could just, outside of combat, just be firing at every single living thing, at everything that you see, and just stockpile stuff, or at allies or whatever. DM discretion, of course. I would say that would be like kind of taking advantage of the rules, honestly, because it's not rules as intended, maybe not as written, but I don't think that's the intention, to be able to just farm up misses for this. So
it's definitely not intended, because it'd be completely broken if you just have starting every combat with, once you get the first bonus of 4, 5, or 6, you got a bunch of these just sitting on there. You just open the first combat. I'm going to fire off 6 extra beams of Eldritch Blast.
It does. I will verify. It does say once per turn you can fire 1 additional, which they did put the asterisk. They did make sure that was because that was my first thought too. But then they did put that. They did do the wording right there that you can't just shotgun, machine gun blast something from the start. So they did put that in, which I think is good. Level 10, let's keep going. Meteoric Impact. Once per turn, when you hit a creature with Eldritch Blast, you can cause the beam to explode. Each creature within 10 feet of the target must make a dex save or take 3d6 fire damage. The damage increases to 4d6 at 14, 5d6 at 17th level. So, interesting. I think a lot of times it's actually not going to be that impactful, just because stuff is not normally that close to each other.
Right.
There might be certain circumstances, like indoors or in dungeons, caves, where they might have a more high probability to be so close.
And there would be a decent amount of time where you can get 2 people with it, because it is 10 feet, not 5. So that's a huge extra thing where 5 people are standing basically back to back or side to side, which you're not going to be having all that much. At least with it 10 feet, it does help it a little bit more with that. But yeah, agreed. You're still dealing with a super wide cleave, essentially, more than a true AOE or cone or anything like that.
I will say the best part about this is it's once per turn. There's no limit to it, which is great. It's just free that you can have, and it's just free damage. I mean, up to 5d6. It's you get 3. You're going to have multiple chances to hit with your beam, your Eldritch Blast, and then determine which one of them explodes.
Right.
And if they miss, you don't feel that bad, because you get the level 6 ability, which is great. The other thing is it's fire damage. So highly resisted. But it's free, so I think it is a quite interesting ability. But again, more combat, no RP on there for sure. Straight up combat.
I got a sneaky feeling we've seen all of our RP we're gonna see.
Yeah, I would think so.
So our capstone is going to be Supernova. Charged by the energy of the stars, you gain additional benefits from the otherworldly entities lurking deep in the void of space. When you cast Eldritch Blast, you can fire one additional beam. That's fun. Sure. Whenever you score a critical hit with Eldritch Blast, you can use your Meteoric Impact feature an additional time. Which is, the previous thing with the explosive fire thing. Yeah. So you're going to have 5 bolts of Eldritch Blast eventually. Because you get 4, it's 17. It's going to cap out 4. Yeah. So you're going to have 4 before you should have 4, and then when you hit 17, instead of having 4, you're going to have 5.
Yeah, and you have 2 of them explode.
Right, so that's
and the thing
is, your third one at 11.
Actually, what I didn't think about is it's when it hits, you can choose to have it explode. I don't know if this is the intention or not. Maybe it's just the reading of it. It says each creature within 10 feet of the target must make a save. The target itself is in that area.
Correct.
So basically, every turn you can just deal an extra 4 or 5d6. And at level 14, that would be 10d6.
Yes.
If it's a crit, that is.
Right. True. That would be an important clarification to have, is because is each creature within that. So, I would think...
Because it says within 10 feet of the target. I don't know if the intention is to include the target or to not include the target. It seems... my first thought would be that it wouldn't be the target, would be my first thought. But at the same time, logistically, does that make sense? I mean, you're shooting something and it's exploding. How would the person getting hit not be hit by the fire as well?
Right, unless you're arguing, because it hits the spot, it, fountains off of that. So, the explosion goes, in all directions away from it.
But it does say, the other asterisk to the asterisk is it says each creature. So that would include allies as well. So you have to be kind of strategic with it.
Correct. Yeah.
So
there's a cost. It says each creature. Right.
So I think as a DM, I would allow it probably because you have to weigh that a cost as well of allies being included.
Right.
So it's do I want to hit my ally for 5d6 as well?
Yeah.
Maybe not. It depends if they're barbarians.
They resist fire damage.
They'll take it all. Anyways, but yeah. So those are all the abilities. Let's move on into the rating portion. First up is the roleplay asterisk, as always. Talking about roleplay, we're talking about interacting with the world around you, interacting with NPCs, non-combat scenarios, avoiding combat, basically things outside the initiative order, not talking about your class fantasy, history, lore, background that's on you as a player. We can't rate you, but we can rate the abilities gained in the subclass and how they might improve your potential in those role-play scenarios. Yeah. So, looking at this one, my first thoughts, capstone, nothing. Level 10, nothing. Level 6, you get the blink, but you have to be in combat or use your blast to try to damage things and then miss to get the charges. So it's kind of weird, but you do get the blinking around, which you can store. Spell slots or expanded spell list that you have to choose. There's not really too much on here that's going to be RP. The only thing for me is the guidance and the extra cantrip that you get outside of guidance, because by getting Eldritch Blast, it opens up another free spot.
Correct.
And then Augury. So you get some decent options.
Guidance is very good.
It is very good. I'd lead
very good.
I'd lead maybe a 2 in the RP would be my first thought.
Sure.
2.
It's you're only getting it from one ability, really, except for the indirect thing of Eldritch Blast being free. But again, Guidance is, in my opinion, the best RP cantrip. You're getting 2 languages. You're getting Augury once for free, and you're getting to grab an extra RP cantrip because
I'm seeing it.
Why are you grabbing another combat cantrip?
2 spells, 2 cantrips, Augury, and you can blink around. That's really what I'm thinking. And all of those things are going to be good most of the time. Celestial and Deep Speech are pretty common things to encounter. You run into Celestials, you're going to probably go to the Underdark at some point. Those are pretty common themes just in general. So I think those will be interesting.
Well, combat side of things, again, only one of our handful of abilities we get here touches RP at all, except for some arguments for the spell list, and they're small. So again, even most of the spell list being offensive, it's all damaging and CC stuff that's there. The clearest thing to me is going to be your level 6 ability. That's a really cool way to buff and bad luck proof yourself with Eldritch Blast. Again, you're going to have Eldritch Blast for free. You can take an extra combat cantrip. Why? To be difficult, to be silly, fine. Do you? But you're probably going to take an extra RP just for all the RP options you can get because you're getting Eldritch Blast for free. The changing over to radiant damage, like we said earlier, is not going to be super, helpful most of the time. It's more going to be a flavor choice. You won't notice a lick of difference 99% of the time. But being able to, again, bad luck proofs, you can just hit, Eldritch Blast more, giving you a reliable use for your reaction to get resistance to damage because that can be really, really big because you're only light armor character, unless you multi-classed, obviously. And then also a reliable use for your bonus action. Like these are one of the two biggest hurt points for me for a lot of 5th edition is a lot of classes and subclasses don't give you reliable continuous uses for your bonus action and your reaction, especially your reaction. For most people, it's like if you're not a caster that has counterspell or shield, you're opportunity attacks freaking only for your reactions. So this actually gives you an opportunity to do something with it, which is great. And then your other things, obviously your meteoric impact, and there's the question of, does the explosion hit the target itself? If so, that is just free damage every single turn, reliably, even if it is one of the most commonly resisted damages. I don't care. It could be 1d6 fire damage to the thing. It's still free. If it counts on the individual target it's hitting. If not, like Jameson said, it's an important thing to remember. It is each creature within that thing and not just, enemies within that target. So that's probably why they probably will include the target because of that. Because
I think that's the balance for it. Yeah, that would be the right thing.
So be aware of how you're going to manage to do that. Make that work. But again, it's free damage. You can't complain about free damage. And the capstone, same thing. The last two abilities are nothing uber exciting, but they are effective. Getting you one additional beam for your Eldritch Blast is just good because you're going to be using it so much. It's one of those things. If you're used to playing a martial class, you're like, oh, I'm kind of bored of martial classes. I just I make weapon attack. I make 2 weapon attacks. I make weapon attacks. Well, that's what Warlock does with Eldritch Blast. You're going to use Eldritch Blast a metric ton. So making it better is just good. Additional beam earlier than you should be getting a 4th beam at that point. Fine, which is good. And then the critical hit, letting you do an extra fire thing is, again, not going to happen a ton, but it just makes crits feel really good when they do happen.
When you're firing lots of blasts, you got to think, though, too. When you're firing lots of blasts, the chance to crit is going to be higher, too.
Right. Mathematically, you're going to get it more than you should be getting it, from base Warlock, because you're going to be firing off more beams than regular Warlock gets. So, and again, a lot of this, there's not hardly any cost to it for you. It's not, you're not taking up your spell slots that you don't have many of, or it's not limited per short or per long rest use or things like that. You're generating your own charges, and then you're just doing more things with your Eldritch Blast, which you're going to be casting all the time anyway. For me, I'm thinking a 4 for combat. I feel like it's got a very high floor for your combat because of primarily the level 6 ability is just amazing. I love everything about the level 6 ability. I forgot what the name of it was called. It was on the screen, but the Orbit, getting you all the different uses for those and how you're going to get more than one potentially per turn, especially once you get to 3, 4, and even 5 shots. You're going to have plenty of that just cycling through. You're able to fire an extra bolt and probably still have the reaction and maybe even still have the bonus action. If you're unlucky, you can get all 3 in a single turn and reload those all in the same bit. So that's going to be really, really cool. But the capstones, while again, there's nothing that's crazy big either, which can also be a drawback, is that you don't have a big, there's no crazy overpowered form or any one-off things. You're just going to be this uber high floor, low ceiling Warlock.
Yep, I think that's where it is. I think 4 is appropriate, and it also before 6 you don't get much, and even at 6 you do get some interesting options that kind of help with the bad luck proof. But even at that, I mean, you're getting one chance to re-roll, a D10. It's sure, that's solid. It's nothing crazy. The resistance is pretty big. I think that's probably the biggest thing at level 6 is a big deal. And then the blinking around is also very solid.
You ever do get surrounded.
But also your proficiency bonus. Yeah, your proficiency bonus isn't super high at lower levels either. So you can only do it a handful of times. But it takes, once you get to level 10, when you can actually just start blowing stuff up constantly, I think that's when it really comes online. It does take a little bit of time to get there. You got to remember, too, most campaigns don't go past level 12, just on average.
Right.
So that's something to factor in a little bit as well. But I think 4 is appropriate for that. And then synergy, last thing, since we already kind of went over everything again. My thoughts with it, I think this is very synergistic with the base class because the meme is Eldritch Blast the class. Yes. So this gives you a lot of bonuses to Eldritch Blast, and it makes you not feel bad about missing, because that's one of the, I think, most annoying things with D&D is you take your turn, you're like, I attack, I miss. Turn. I'm done.
Yeah.
I did nothing on my turn. So this makes you feel like at least I got some charges, so next turn I can like blink around or give myself resistance.
I've got some survivability now. Like I didn't hit nothing, but I'll take half damage if it tries to hit me on their turn.
Yeah. So I think with this one, I would lean 4.5 on the synergy. I feel like it's very strong. It does take a little bit of time to get online because you don't get anything until 6, because you don't really get anything at level 1.
I agree. The only thing that prevents this from being a 5 is like you're not really getting, besides just extra cantrips, you're not really getting anything that blows me away synergy wise until you get to 6, and then on up from 6, it's like, oh yeah, this is great.
Yeah. Yep. All right, very interesting, very focused subclass.
Yeah,
lots of fun.
You ever want to like lean into Eldritch Blast the class meme? Here it is.
That's what it is. All right, guys, that's going to be it for today. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell notifications so when all of our new videos are coming out. If you want to see us try to do a collab or interview Dungeon Dudes, let us know, let them know. Maybe we can get something down here.
Let them know so that we know that they know, and they know that we know.
Sounds good. All right, guys, as always, thanks for watching. The Big Book of Spectacular Shops is coming to 5th edition on October 3rd. Don't miss out on this Kickstarter. With over 100 plus new shops, shopkeepers, and rules for these stores. It includes an attitude system, dynamic stock, and so much more. But don't take my word for it. Grab the free 44-page PDF sample at the link in the description down below. And stay tuned to the channel for more information about this Kickstarter as it gets closer to launch.